All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Chasing Edges podcast. I got just a bottomless juice box here. A guy that's really impacted my training career and my football career, Anthony Schlegel, Schlegel Valley. Welcome to the show, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, I'm pumped to have you on here. There's a bunch of questions. You've already been talked about on the podcast a couple times.
Oh, good.
Yeah, all great things. So the first question before we get into the normal questions is the weightlifting belt from Ohio State, with this phenomenal quote: "Slay your selfish beast, feed it to your inner beast, and then feed it iron." Where did that come from?
All my greatest sayings and ideas all came from when I was training. That's it. Yeah. I mean, the difference, I have 2 patents. All those patents came with an idea that I had while I was training, because when I train, it allows my mind to lock in. I probably have severe ADHD. And so for some reason, when I'm focused on training and I'm sweating, like, that's when the great ideas come out. And really the selfish beast there's a lot of them. And I just, came through an NFL season, but you go through life, and then how does that really equate in the weight room? And the selfish beast is the beast that wants to conform, wants to give in, wants to say that enough is enough, wants to say that this is the best way and I'm good with it, as opposed to chasing edges, right? And that's the same thing in the weight room. Like, look at this weight. Man, selfishly, like, I think I can get 1. Or, hey, I think I can get 2. Or, hey, you know what? I got 4 sets of 10. Why do I need to start off at this weight? Maybe I can ooze in to those 4 sets of 10 and save a little bit so I have gas in the tank for the 4th set. Well, you really just did 1 working set then, as opposed to 4 sets.
Yeah.
Right? So that's kind of the selfish mentality that we all have. It's I don't want to go down that path or down that road because I know that it's challenging. And it's amazing that as I talk to you right now, I'm talking to myself. Like, it's something that never ceases. And when you say something like that, it's a continuation of growth all the time that has to be happening. So as I'm speaking to you right now, I'm also speaking to myself, because we've never arrived at that, right? The selfish beast says, yeah, I've arrived. I'm good. I'm good where I'm at, as opposed to how can I get better? How can I make this more optimal? What can I do? How can I impact other people? Because then it becomes, the selfish beast is all about self-preservation, as opposed to a servant mentality, and growth. Because that's what the iron does. The iron grows you. A lot of people want to go in, why am I not seeing gains? Well, it's because you're not pushing yourself. You just constantly do 3 sets of 10 at whatever it is that you do every single time, and you're confusing activity with achievement. So in the ramifications of the weight room, slay your selfish beast, that's mental, feed it to the inner beast, right? The inner beast that wants to grow, that wants to be better. And then guess what? Feed it a heavy dose of iron, because there's nothing better than the weight room and solving all of life's problems. That's facts.
Oh my goodness. That was poetry. That was
I have
freaking
no clue.
phenomenal.
I just like
I
Frank the Tank.
blacked
I just blacked out. I have no clue.
Oh man, no, but that's so real, just because it is obviously you're talking to yourself as you're talking, but obviously I'm hearing that it's applying to different parts of my life where obviously, yeah, like the road's always under construction.
Absolutely.
No matter what. This whole bit recently, like I've been coaching some younger kids as of late, and I tell them, like, if you think you're okay, if you think you're fine at any point in your life or any point in the workout and those kind of things, like, you're not. Like, you shouldn't be fine. It should be a tension point that keeps you growing. And like the realization that, like, if I am saving myself for that last set, or not giving what is max effort, like what is all in, like that's really what the question is like, am I reaching my potential? Am I giving my all?
Right.
And that's like a tough thing to ask. And you really don't know unless like you constantly fail and you constantly stumble or you constantly struggle. Like that is the relationship.
Yeah, that's the growth.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what the weight room does. The weight room is always that struggle of growth and complacency and, when is enough, or is there more in the tank, and do I want to spill it today or do I not? Like, those are the things that you're always wrestling with on a daily basis, why the weight room is so awesome, know? But that's the thing. Like, you are always, I love that you said the road is always under construction, and that's where you have to be, in my opinion, in regardless to what field you're in, business, strength conditioning, doesn't matter, the occupation.
No, not
you
at
always
all.
got to be growing.
Yeah, that's I mean that's the chasing edges. Like where can I get better? Where can I like shift my perspective? Like how can I grow physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all these things. Like and then you said something beautiful too, that like this slaying the selfish beast, like these selfishness sides of the mentality, and obviously the savage that you're feeding too, like you want to be an example of growth for others and that kind of thing, but that leads to this servant mentality. I think you're incredible at that. Like obviously I've just a little quick background on Schlegs. Like Schlegs was the assistant strength coach at Ohio State, and my buddy Zach Bourne got me in to come train there one day when I was up in the CFL at the time. I was trying to switch from safety to linebacker, and I came in there for conditioning day. Schlegel said, "Hey, like how you work, you're welcome to come back and train with the NFL group," which was just a godsend for me. I had no money to train. Like I was gonna go back to Chicago and try and train myself and work 3 jobs again and that kind of thing. And so this ended up being a massive fork in the road or blessing for me to train with some savages. I got a great running partner and Nate Ebner. I got just absolute savage strength guy, like John Simon. I'd never seen fail. Same with Zach Bourne and Corey Lindsey, just a bunch of great guys. So like Schlegs helped me get in there. Then while he was there, he made he found these patents and these ideas. He has his own company now called The Difference, where they have striking pads with arms that attach to your racks that are like good shock and shed, good contrast reps for bench, like all these things. So it's a really cool company. And then now that evolved into him being the head strength coach for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But that coming full circle now, I got to see him at Ohio State get the best out of people. Not only the guys that were actively playing at Ohio State, but the NFL group. He would jump in, he would push guys on weight, he'd do all these incredible things, and you could tell his compassion was your compassion's elite. And a lot like some of that's based in your face, some of that's based just in your mindset and how like you're not. I don't see you as a selfish human. Like like there's some people where it's like do X, Y, and Z, but like if someone's not doing it, you're helping solve a problem and being compassionate, doing these things. So I guess like how did this slay the selfish beast lead into the servant mentality, if you followed that?
Yeah, mess? I mean, I think that's, selfishly we all think that we've arrived or that we're the best and we're not. And I think that we're called to be a servant. I don't think people serve other people enough without any type of what's in it for me. I don't want anything. I just want to serve. Like, it really came to me when I was getting my MBA, and that story in itself. I remember Mickey Marotti told me, "Hey, listen, if you want to be a head strength coach, you have to go get a master's degree." I'm like, "Okay, well, you go get a sports admin, right? It's a year program. Go knock it out." But this is back in 2013. I saw where college football was going, and really how I believe the head strength coach was basically the chief operating officer of the football program. So call that, Ohio State Football LLC. You have the Incorporated, which is Ohio State Athletics Incorporated, and you have all these other businesses under it, which are all the different sports that you play, right? So then you have the CEO of that would be the head football coach. The COO, in my opinion, would be Mickey Marotti and the head strength coach. The CFO is your director of football operations and all the things that they do. So you have all these different, you have the marketing side, right? The CMO, you have all these different things. So I saw where that was kind of going, and I wanted tools in that. So then I decided, Bobby Carpenter and I, so we were done playing. How do we want to grow? You have the NFL Trust where they pay a little bit, pay for your tuition. You have Ohio State that pay for some of my tuition. So I decided to get an MBA. Anyways, while getting my MBA, and this is again where it's like slaying the selfish beast, you get all this information and you have all these case studies, and you have all these things that you could read. Well, if I just half-ass it and just go through the motions, am I really extracting everything that I could out of it? I just happen to remember that they gave us a book in a class called True North, and it was a book about all these little business vignettes. And while reading that book, I came up with my own purpose statement and my core values, and solely purpose is to maximize people through authentic service. So that's my purpose statement. It's not yours. It's not anybody else's out there. It's short and sweet. It's one sentence of which I can articulate very, very quickly, and it's on the forefront of my mind. Every time I make a decision, does this decision allow me to maximize people through authentic service, yes or no? If the answer is no, I don't do it. If the answer is yes, I go on to the next. Does it go into my core values of being authentic, service, excellence, and integrity? If the answer is yes, let's see. Now it's up there, right? Is that something that we really want to invest our time, energy, and effort in? Because there's only a finite amount of time. And if I get spread too thin, then I become a shadow of my elite self. So then once you whittle through those funnels, now is this something I want to be committed to, or is it something that I want to be involved in? Well, I can't be involved in 10 things. Like I said, you become a shadow of yourself. So it's like, what are the 3 to 5 things that I want to be committed to? Boom. That's how I do it. So from that class, that purpose statement really just accentuates the servant mentality. Obviously, my faith in Christ, that's number one, ultimate servant. So how can I display that in everything that I do and every interaction that I have with people? That's where that mentality comes from. But kind of going through that exercise in that book, that's how I was able to articulate it into one sentence. Because there's, it can't be a paragraph. It's just got to be, who's Anthony Schlegel? He maximizes people through authentic service. Then you go through your core values. Why are they your core values? Well, they should be individual to you, specific to you, and they all should have a story as to why authenticity is like my number one core value, or service, or excellence, or integrity, those type of things. But it just allows you, I think, to make really good quality decisions as you go through.
No, that's dynamite, because it's one, it's simple. Like, it's not a paragraph. It's not 18 things that you have to constantly recheck, and like it doesn't become a mental mess. Like, it's very, and then you also make it binary. Like, does this fit these 3 core values? Yes, no, yes, no. Everything gets black and white and really easy. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and then you got to go through, and I think the next exercise is what makes you, what makes you elite, because I'll just give you like a little business perspective, and even probably the best lesson I've learned this year in the NFL is what's the minimal effective dose that you need. So in season training, what's the minimal effective dose, because they're getting so much stress at practice and during the games? What's the minimal effective dose to keep them powerful and strong in the weight room, and also healthy, and the rejuvenation and all those different things that it takes to play on Sunday? But really, what's the minimal effective dose in our lives, because you can only be elite at so many things. So I think that was critical, and I just totally lost my train of thought.
No, you're good.
I'm just rambling.
No, you're good. The minimal effective dose, I think, is super powerful, because like the NFL.
Sorry, guys, it's like 8:20 in the morning. Listen, I've been sleeping at my farm, and I sleep like a champ. I got 2 hours of REM sleep last night. I feel fantastic.
Oh my goodness.
I just started, but yeah, I'm sorry. Minimal effective dose is a big time deal.
No, I think it's super smart, just because like especially like the training camps, and like the season is a grind.
Right.
It's a massive grind. And like I've been with the Texans, we did the Omega Wave, and we did all these things to monitor and track it. Yeah. And you had to volunteer to do that, because like, you can't give up your heart rate variability and all that kind of stuff unless you do it voluntarily, which is interesting in and of itself. But like, it's kind of like, that you don't, like, some guys didn't want to know how much they were sleeping,
right?
because maybe they're at the club or whatever they're doing,
right?
But which makes sense. But minimal effective dose is like, it's something that I had to learn the hard way, where like, am I overtraining? Like, am I truly recovering? And those kind of things. Those are really hard to monitor, because one, we're practicing for probably 2 hours, 2.5 hours, like not including walkthroughs sometimes, those kind of things. And what kind of damage does that really do? Like, and then on top of me trying to lift and stay strong and maintain. And so it was really hard for me to find a minimal effective dose, because the cool thing, because me and Schlegs went and talked to Eric Lichter the other day, which was really cool. I got to tag along there. But the thing that hit me really well was that he said, like, are you a workhorse or are you a racehorse?
Right.
I was so, like, my identity in football was being the hustle guy, being the hard worker, being the workhorse. But that really wasn't what, like, made me produce. The racehorse is what was the best side of me, like on special teams when I was leading the pack down, things like that. So, like, that just put me in this really cool whatever, looking through the past and those kind of things, and where could I have changed, and now how can I coach somebody to do the same, and if I get the opportunity to play again, how do I do it different?
Well, now because you said all that, I remember where I was going with that, and that's optimizing you, because I was the same way. I was a guy, I grew up at a gym called Metroflex Gym in Arlington, Texas, home of 8-time Mr. Olympia Ronnie Coleman, Branch Warren, Johnny Jackson, numerous powerlifters. Brian Dobson was the owner there. And he started training me when I was 15. I remember that's a side nugget story. We should come back to that.
Just feed it.
All right, yeah. Because I'm a ramble onto a bunch of things, but I want to hit this one point first. When I was giving you an example, because we talked about what is your purpose, we talked about what is your value, we talked about what's that a minimal effective dose for you to be maximized. Okay, then the next side of that is, what are you elite at? And I think that comes with a lot of self-introspection. Also, what are you not elite at? Okay, so let's start with the first thing. What are you elite at? For me, it's always been the vision. Okay, that's an example would be the difference. It's an idea, concept. You take an idea, you put it on paper, you get it built, you execute it, and there's a lot of things that went into that I did on my own, right? Just because I'm a hillbilly from Texas, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. Boom, you get it out there, and next thing you know, I don't know. I mean, you've done a lot of sales, and you're in 20-something NFL teams. You're in 90-plus Division I colleges, and you took an idea, you take it from an idea and a concept to market. Now you sustained a business for over 6 years. Great, it's working. People find value in it. Awesome, but that's the vision. Then you have the execution side. That was the execution, being able to deliver upon that, being able to have the relationships with the coaches. And that's the third thing is that I'm elite at is the relationships. So for me, vision, execution, and relationships. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to focus on. And then you see that, I'll give you a prime, like in the business, well, taking it to market, yes, but then allowing it to grow and do all the things necessary to really make it a really big company. I struggle at because me personally, I go back to the next thing. I'm already on to the next. Like, what's the next patent? What's the vision? What's the execution of that? And so that's where it's like, I know that if I was still doing this, I needed somebody else to take that over. Like, hey, Schlegs, you're really good at seeing a problem, creating a solution, taking a concept to market. Then I need to dump it.
Yeah.
Then I need to go on to the next. But you got to find the right people to be able to go do that. Because I know that that's a weakness of me because it takes me away from doing what I'm elite at, right? And that goes back to that minimal effective dose, even in that regard, as to staying locked in as to what I need to do to be maximized as Anthony Schlegel. So just like in training, what do I need to do to be maximized to play on Sundays? What do I need to do to be maximized to enhance my areas of weaknesses? Right? Because we all want to go toward our strengths. When you go to the gym, you like to lift on the days that you are really good at lifting.
Yeah.
Hey, deadlift day, I'm in. Squat day, I'm in. We benching. I don't really I struggle at that, right? So it's like, you want to be able to go do those things, and it's knowing that, but that's where that minimal effective dose comes in. And I think it's something that I've taken from this year. And as I go through and look at a plan for next year, it's like, what are the things that you really want to be elite at? What are the minimal effective dose that you need? And let's just simplify it and let's go be really, really elite at those things.
Yeah, then that's what I think makes like a great team are people that are great at like the whole service, like the whole business and those kind of things. And
you got to accompany each other.
Yeah, it's almost like not what but who. I think one of my buddies was reading that book recently, but it's basically like who do you have in place and who do you have in the weeds for X, Y, and Z.
Not what but who. Like
yeah. But, I'll have to find the author for you, but he's reading it right now. He was just telling me about it. But it obviously, yeah, like you want to be and then it's like, I think it's kind of like in a company, it's different than in the weight room. Like, yeah, of course I want to show up on deadlift and squat day and those kind of things. But like, really training is about training your weaknesses, and making sure you have a foundation, not making sure you're not like adding strength to dysfunction and that kind of thing. So like, yeah, like, and again, that's minimal effective dose again. And it shows up to be like, where do I need to spend a lot of time, and where can I keep honing what I'm great at and never lose it?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's like a healthy balance. But I want to get back to the Metroflex
story.
Okay,
so the Metroflex story
is, I fucking love Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah. I mean, lightweight, nothing but a peanut.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. I mean, listen, I was there during it all. And I actually, I mean, every time I go back and I see Ronnie, like, he's fantastic. And I used to, on deadlift days, like, he had his two training buddies, and, hey, man, hey, Anthony, come over here. And I would deadlift with them because, I mean, when I was in high school, I was, I had a couple of records where I hit like 662, 672 when I was 18 years old.
Let's go.
I mean, I could deadlift, a lot. And
in Carhartts and boots, too,
I didn't have that back then. That was more of the hillbilly phase. I mean, God bless my wife. She's seen every phase that a dude can go through in life because I've been with her since I was 16 years old. But yeah, Metroflex Gym, I mean, I remember I walked in, I was 12 years old, and our chiropractor, voodoo doctor, Dr. Mike, this was back, I mean, this is in the 90s, so early 90s. Dr. Mike, anything's wrong with you, like Dr. Mike could fix you. I have no clue.
Yeah, that's
he was a chiropractor.
That's my Serrano.
Yeah, exactly. He was that guy. Like you pull something, boom, he fixes you. You're like, what is going on? I feel great now. Anyways, so Dr. Mike was a bodybuilder who put us, my dad, who was a high school football coach, put us on. He's like, man, you got to go train at Metroflex Gym. And so we go and visit it I won't ever forget it, man. It's etched in my mind. And I walk in there, my dad and I, I'm 12 years old. And we're living in DeSoto, Texas. So it's like a 20-minute drive over to Arlington in Metroflex. And I walk in, and Tupac and Mother F everything is just blasting full tilt. I mean, you barely hear yourself think. And I walk in, and I just see monstrous people throwing around unbelievably heavy weight, slamming weight, throwing dumbbells. I'm just like, this is amazing. I immediately thought, because, I mean, it was in a two-bay end of this warehouse, two-bay doors. And mind you, this is in Texas, so it's like super hot all the time. There's no AC in there. It's just fans. There's like a hole in the back of the wall. You know, they had like some plywood that they would raise and lower for a breeze, depending upon like where it's coming from, because there was like a water ditch, and if it was just stagnant water, it'd smell, so it'd cover it on those days. And days that it didn't smell, they'd open it up. Anyways, I just saw this, and I thought of Rocky IV, and I was like, this is where I have to train, you know. And so then my dad, being a guy that was always in the weeds of training the Bulgarian system and the Russians, and he was always like into the weeds of that. And kudos to my dad. Like, my dad taught me the love of training, because like even when he was running his off-season program for the high school, he had an ankle biter program where he would have like 6th, 7th, and 8th graders like training at the high school, and they were doing plyometrics and speed work and introducing them to training. Like this was back in the late 80s, early 90s. Awesome. I'm like, yeah, I see you, man. Now I look back, I'm like, that's fantastic, Dad. But yeah, you go to Metroflex and you see this, and then, you know, the stories are like guys walking in there with fanny packs and ponytails and arguments, and got, you know, somebody ripping a ponytail off a guy's head and it's, you know, like nailing it to the wall, and like that stuff happened. Like that's real. You know, you're like, what is that? Oh, okay. And you just keep walking in the door, and then you just go get bumpy. Fantastic times. My love of training and lifting heavy. And it's crazy because then you have all these different philosophies and theories like conjugate and max effort, dynamic. Like we were doing all that kind of stuff back then. But I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah, it was just all coming to fruition around that time, right?
But it was just guys like Brian Dobson, just an innovator, like guys just talking, seeing what other people are using and implementing it into their workouts. And then Ronnie's like high volume, you know, bodybuilding, one body part a day type stuff. It was all good, man. And it was just fun. It just gave you learned how to go into a weight room, and when you're in the weight room, to be the intensity that you needed to move heavy weights and to grow. Yeah. Like, honestly, I mean, at the end of the day, like you see guys like Branch Warren, Johnny Jackson, Ronnie Coleman, Josh Bryant, like the guys that move heavy weight, the one thing you take away from that is the intensity that is required to move heavy iron, period. Because that's what it's all about. I get two craps about the intensity. Drugs don't give you intensity. The intensity that you have to go do that and sustain that through a workout and to be pushed, that's critical. Then having great training partners, that's critical. Because then that's when it becomes fun.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? It's about the boys and discipleship and your faith. It's life on life. Well, you can have life on life in the weight room because you're maximizing each other. You're not going to let a guy do a rep. Hey, I need you to give me a spot on this because I want to go to the depth of where I don't think my body can handle it for 6 reps. So I might need help on the last 2. Awesome. But you trust that guy. You trust the guy to be there to spot you when you go put 600 pounds in your back. I'm going to go to it. I might need a little bit of help. I'm not going in there that I'm going to need it. I'm going to go do it, but I know that you got me. You know, that's kind of the beauty of what the weight room does. And that's where even in college athletics and in the pro, the weight room is so beautiful because it's that life on life accountability. It's that iron sharpening iron. It's you know that your partner is there. They're not looking around. No, they're focused on you and coaching you. That's the best. That's when you know you got a really good program, when they're trying to sharpen each other.
Yeah, that's an incredible perspective. Just because, I mean, it's shown up a bunch on the podcast. Just talking to Nate, talking to Cush, and realizing the importance of that. And then that's a whole nother layer, is like the camaraderie, the trust, and everything that's built on top of that. And then it's just like this collective mindset where everything starts to move forward as a crew. You kind of overlook it sometimes, and when you like, I've kind of felt it now. Like I spent like about a year where I didn't train with a lot of people. I was like, half the time I was training myself.
It's awful.
Yeah, it's awful. It is awful to some extent. But then I found this 4 a.m. crew out in Granville, and then now I got to go out there 3 days a week just to get that hit, and then that push, and those spots and that kind of thing. You don't realize how much true support that is. I think that's just really cool.
I mean, from a former, I've said this a lot. Former NFL guy, former athlete. I don't think it matters regardless of sport or gender. It takes probably, I would say, especially at the NFL level, 4 to 5 years to figure out what it is that you want to do. And it takes probably that amount of time to figure out what's your identity outside of ball.
No doubt.
And I'm 40 and I'm still figuring it out, okay? And I've been out of ball since 2010,
Yeah.
right? That's 11 years. I'm still on the journey.
I'm in it right now,
yeah. And let me tell you something. The only people that really know that are the people that have been through it. And guess what? Those are the people that you got to talk to.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so that's where the beauty of the weight room and training like that comes into play, because you still want to be pushed. You still want to be sharpened, but you want to do it with other people. Now, I'm going to take that, and now I got kids. Coaching and training also is understanding what individually your kids need. Like, I didn't need training partners. I had no regard the fact that I was the only high school kid, one of maybe 2 or 3 in that gym during that time, right? I didn't care that I was the only 12-year-old that was in that gym, and they were monstrous dudes training around me. It was just me and my dad getting after it. Now, he and I fought crazy time, like all the time, because my dad would say, you got a set of 8 here. I would do 8, and then he would magically have 5 more reps to go. I didn't know that he was pushing me because he put too light of a weight on the bar, right? I was just pissed that he couldn't count. I thought he was stupid. Now looking back, I see what he was trying to do. But when I look at even like my oldest son, who needs to train, who really doesn't have a love for training, but is starting to understand what training can do for your sport, I know that I can't give him the juice and train him that way like I want to be trained. He needs little buddies to train with to push him. That's the kind of environment I need to facilitate for him to grow. Now, my youngest son and my daughter, they'll train. They don't care.
Yeah.
But like him, it's understanding those pieces. And I also think that helps with coaching environment, right? That's strategically where you tell a John Simon that I want you to bring along a Ryan Shazier, and he picks up Ryan Shazier and also gets him, 4 English muffins from, McDonald's, because Ryan needed to gain weight at that time because he was 202-pound linebacker, But that's what you do. You see that, and you see that, John has a voice that can do that for Ryan and bring him along. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And those are the things that you miss when you get outside of ball. And so finding that as you're outside of it, in my opinion, is vital for the journey of figuring out who you are outside of the sport that you've committed, that was your career. Because people don't realize this. Once you get done playing ball, if you've done it at a professional level, everybody else has been interning or started their career path already.
No doubt.
And so now you're 4 or 5 years behind the 8 ball trying to get into a thing, and you have all these intangible, unbelievable, emotional, intelligent skill sets of which don't necessarily derive sales or revenue for a said company. And you're a very quick learner, and you want to go, but you want that team. You want somebody to believe in you like your coach believed in you, and like your teammates when you're working out in the weight room believe you. You want that opportunity for you to learn and to grow, and you're going to go get the job done. But it's hard for an organization to give you that right out the gate, making money that you want to make.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so then that goes into, well, how are you going to better yourself? Well, I went and did an MBA, to equate the playing field, right? But all those things come about, all those decisions came about while I was training, with my boys. Like that's how it happened.
Yeah, and I think you just got to keep that relevant in your life. And like, I mean, you hit
it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, you hit a bunch of savage points there where if I'm ever blessed with kids, like the weight room.
Sorry that I'm rambling.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. No,
there's a year long of rambling going on right now in my mind.
I love it because we're rambling about stuff I love. But just the education that happens, like it's shown up on majority of podcasts where they started training very young, guys and girls. Like Coach Darlene, I don't know if it was actually on the podcast, but on a hike, she was telling me how her dad taught her in the weight room, and like it's very tangible where like you get out what you put in. So like that's the biggest lesson in life, that like where you spend your time is where you see your results.
Yep.
Like once you get all that rolling, like the weight room is just a great tangible place to learn that. Great coaching point. And then where was I going with the back half of that? Then like you're never, like, just because I'm not playing on a team in the NFL or not on TV or whatever the hell, it doesn't take away my athleticism. It doesn't take away my competitiveness. So like now, how do I reframe that? Do I reframe it in an MBA? Do I reframe it in education? Do I like I've gotten into jiu-jitsu, I've done rock climbing, I've done all these things to keep competition in my life, and then I'll never not train. Like I know the benefits of training, I know all these things, and I fucking love it. Like and I love doing it with people that are of like-mindedness. So like now it's just like I don't need any outside validation on how I'm living, training, all those kind of things. So like that's been peaceful for me. Like
right.
that's given me a level of peace in this agitative period where I'm trying to find my identity outside of sport. But I just think the curiosity and that competitiveness will never leave. So like that's where I'm trying to just keep that structure, and I'll keep finding it, whether it's the 4 a.m. stuff or I compete in another sport, or I just keep trying shit until something sticks to the wall.
I think that that's something that you always have to foster, because if you played in I mean, think about the ones that play in college. You're a 1%er.
Yeah.
People that play professional athletics, you're a 1% of 1%.
Yeah.
That is innately what makes you. So you have to keep fostering that, because I think that you would lose it unless you find a different way of bringing that out, whether that's in business or whatever it is that you do. I mean, I remember when I did my MBA, my entire goal was not to get a 4.0, because I knew that at that time I was the assistant director of football sports performance. I was doing a lot of different things. I had a great staff there. Mick gave me reign, like, because there were times where we train a 6 a.m. group, an 8 a.m. group, a 10 o'clock group, and then we wouldn't have another group till like 3 o'clock when they got out of school. Well, I would go pop over to Fisher College of Business and knock out a class, right? And then I would come back and do my stuff for the guys that I already trained, and then get ready for my next group, and then I would do that, finish my day, and then boom, I'd go back over and hit the working professional MBA classes from 6 to 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And they gave me autonomy to do that, but You have to constantly, have that in your life, because that is innately what made you elite at that level. And so when I was doing my MBA was, I want to go attack everything that they possibly give me to maximize it, right? You get out what you put out, you get out what you put in.
Absorb it, understand it, apply it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to get a 3.5, and I wanted to graduate a 3-year program, because I had to do the working professional, but I want to do it in 2. Yeah. So I basically did it full time. So I knocked it out. I did it in 2 years. I had above a 3.5, and I think I really got a lot of things out of it, and grew from it. So that's where, I think that's still competitive nature. You can do that in all your areas. And matter of fact, I'm constantly trying to do that as a husband. Like, my wife loves to go on walks. Like, I have to take care of her. And then you got kids. Like, you have all these other things that you got to do, and you got to be elite at those things. Like, God bless you with an awesome wife, kids. Like, you have to invest time, energy, and effort into them. And that's also dying to yourself of things that you want to do.
No doubt.
That's slaying the selfish beast. How do you go be a really good husband? Slay your selfish beast as to, do you really need that time, or is that time really needed for your wife? Boom. Hey, I want to just go do this. No, you can't, right? I want to go watch this Netflix show. No, you need to go spend time with your kids and go out there and play catch and go throw BP and go, work on, I don't know, backflips with your daughter who's doing cheer, or take your little one out and just go skateboarding, right? Yeah. Hey, I really just want to chill. I'm not up for it. No, you need to go on a 40-minute walk with your wife and just breathe and talk life, talk shop with her, and get in the weeds of life with her. Like, that's what's required. So I think a lot of that, even that going back to that old saying of slaying the selfish beast, that's something that you always got to resonate as to, how do you do that? But that also goes into what do you value? And for me, it's faith, family, and maximizing people.
Yeah.
Like that's it. So right now, faith, family, and the Jags.
I love that just because like that's kind of like a underlying structure to like my mass concept where like the intensity that you developed early in the weight room, like when you go into that gym, that Metroflex, you're putting on this intensity mass where I got to go slay the selfish beast, feed the inner beast iron, those kind of things. That's weight room Schlegs. And then now you got to be able to like go on the walk and put on husband Schlegs and go out and throw BP and put on dad Schlegs, like that kind of thing. I really like the mass concept. Tangibilizing it's been good for me where like whether I'm walking into coaching or I'm like studying, like I'm being a student right now. I got to put this mask on. I got to find this focus and this intensity. So I like that structure that you threw out there. And then we'll wrap up with this.
Well, the biggest thing too in that mask, and I have, that's why authenticity is my number one thing, because the masks have to still be authentically you.
No doubt. But the mask kind of came from like the.
No, I like it. I understand because there's different personalities as to what you have to display.
Yeah, but like some people, like I've gotten some resistance from this because like, no, you should be the same person all day. Like you should be the same person, like the same characters. And like to that extent, it should it's the same person, but you're getting a different mask.
Well, hey, listen, my family cannot take Anthony Schlegel weight room masks.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I mean, like,
but they're both authentic. Yeah,
they're still you. You just have to understand. Like, I am authentically that when I'm training. I'm authentically that when I'm at church. I'm authentically that when I'm with my wife and my kids. I'm authentically that when I'm doing business. But the intensity, the tone of my voice, how I speak, they gotta be different. They can't handle some of that.
Yeah, it's conscious.
Yeah. I have to be conscious of other people. It doesn't mean I'm not Anthony Schlegel all the time.
Yeah, I like your structure for it. I think it's dynamite.
Yeah, but that's something that you can never lose who you are. And I like you said, like I cannot be Anthony Schlegel in the weight room all the time. You cannot do it because your family, they don't want that. They want dad and husband. Yeah, they don't want Anthony Schlegel weight room. That dude, too much juice.
Yeah, but you need that. You as a human need that minimal effective dose of intensity and training and
absolutely
camaraderie and all those things.
And they need it. They need it in different things. Like my wife needs to go on vacation.
Yeah,
and be intimate, alone, no distractions, talk life. Like that's her break. You know what I mean? My break. And I guess it kind of goes back to, the different things of. I'm trying to think of how to articulate this. The selfish beast of like trying to do all these different things of what you want, but like I know that I recharge by like going to my farm. Mm-hmm. That's how I recharged. I've been away from it for a year. I don't need it because I know that I chose to go down to Jacksonville to do that. And so in doing so, what is it that Anthony Schlegel needs to recharge? For me, it's training. So I get up early, I go train, I go do my job, I come home, and then everything that I do is directed toward my wife and children. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't need anything else. I don't need any other time. I know consciously that I made the choice. And so here are the things that I am giving up, quote unquote, farm, shooting my bow, going hunting, things that I really like to do. However, I'm going to get the training, but then I'm going to go home and I'm going to be the best dad and the best husband that I possibly can be. And you got to understand those things, because if not, you're going to always look back and say, well, I wish I was doing this and I wish I was doing that. No, you made the choice to go do those things.
It's a level of awareness and commitment.
You have to.
Yeah, and with commitment comes sacrifice, and it's in line with your core values. So you're dialed. But just to wrap this.
All right, wrap it up.
Yeah, wrap it
up, Box.
Yeah, wrap it up, Box. We skipped this question not just because the selfish beast came in, and that was just a itching question for the boys. But where are you curious right now? Where are you learning? Where are you chasing edges?
Oh man, a lot. There's a lot. I mean, just talking with Eric Lichter the other day about velocity load profiling for guys and what they need from acceleration in the different zones of, like him running a 40-yard dash, but really the game of football of strength, speed, and power. And you look at the conjugate method and the conjugate system and the dynamic method of that speed strength speed zone, and what does that look like when you're running. And we were talking velocity load profiling of guys as to what they actually need on the sled, predicated upon like how they run using a 1080 sprint. Like, I just thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
I think that's something that you can do for guys. We were talking about grassing, and we did a lot of different things and the rejuvenation, however we want to call it, things of, cryo and contrast and infrared beds and what are all these different things. And you and I like sitting in the sauna and breathing, like there's all these different things. So I'm chasing all of those, right?
Yeah.
And the hardest thing is how do you put it into a system and a plan and be really elite at simplifying that, which goes back to minimal effective dose.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like that's really what the plan is. Like, what's the minimal effective dose that you can give to guys to like maximize them and extend their career, period.
Yeah.
So I'm always chasing that. How do you utilize velocity-based training? How can you change up variety of your, not necessarily the lift, but the ways in which you do lift? What do they need for this off season to be ready to go for OTAs? It's going to look very different when you have a new coach. Like, all those things are in the back of your mind, doing a hard look, self-audit on myself and what we did this last off season. I'm chasing that, so I'm chasing a bunch of things. The one thing that you always got to chase first is my faith. I'll tell you, this year it's been tumultuous, to say the least, trials and tribulations, but you always got to remember this when facing trials and tribulations, that it produces perseverance, and at the end you may be mature and complete and not lacking anything. So when you go through trials, you go through tribulations, you got to go through it with a sense of gratitude that that you're learning something from it.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes hard to do because it becomes a, oh, woe is me mentality. But it's like, no, I'm learning, I'm growing. There's ways of having an attitude of gratitude in the midst of that. Look at all the blessings that have occurred from it. And you're like, yeah, and now I'm ready to go and attack and move forward and become better. When you go back.
That's super dope, because I finally listened to this podcast too. Huberman, have you ever listened to Huberman Lab?
I don't get to listen to a lot.
Yeah, he's this scientist researcher out of Stanford, and he's basically bringing all the science to like the stuff we coach at Mindstrong, and, like the breathing, the sauna, the cold exposure, and those kind of things. And he did one on gratitude as of late, and like what's the best gratitude practice, science backed. And like, because the usual gratitude practice is like, I'm thankful for this,
right,
this, and this, but really it's the reframing of the brain. So it's like the cold tub. But before you get in the cold tub, this is going to make you better, and like you're grateful for the opportunity and the struggle. Like, that's how you truly reframe and get these mental effects and physiological effects and benefits of gratitude. And that sounds like what you're doing. But just to finish this up, like the curiosity that you do bring, and like the structure that you've talked about in Jacksonville, to me is like your curiosity and your caring for all these edges and rejuve and training methods and those kind of things. Because like we talked about some of the stuff, like you're doing, so like you put in so many tools for guys down there. You got guys doing RPR, you got the red light, the infrared bed, which I'm a massive fan of for like mitochondrial health. You got guys into the cryo. You're implementing like chains, bands, some of those things, and then the activation, you're kicking over every stone to make sure. So if I was a player in your weight room, like I'd be so hyped that like I have all this stuff at my disposal. So I think your curiosity is dynamite and makes you a phenomenal coach, because it also shows that you're caring. You're just advocating for me as a player, because I have all this stuff available to me. And like if I choose to use it or not, like some of the things I'm sure are voluntary, but like me, like I did the acupuncture. I bought my own red light panels. I did all these things anyways, but if I would have had that stuff at the facility, like everything's better, and now my teammates get access to it. Like I think that's really cool. Like just all the different methodologies and recovery modalities that you brought to your guys down there. But it all stems from curiosity and chasing edges.
That's 100%, and it goes back, like our entire mission, and I believe this, is to, as a support staff professional, is to maximize their value and extend their career. And everybody's value is different in the NFL. Brian Peters and Anthony Schlegel are very similar. We're different than a high-paid left tackle.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the facts.
Yeah.
Right, we're different than a quarterback. Okay? How I viewed it is, my goal was, how can I maximize these guys, their value to this team? And this goes back to my own my own trials in the NFL. I was 250 pounds. I was a Mike linebacker. I thought that weight was everything. I thought that me squatting 600 and deadlifting 700 pounds was the end-all, be-all, and it's not. What was the end-all, be-all? Be 235, work on hip mobility, bend and play in space.
Yeah.
Work on shin angles, right? Work on the ability to absorb high-speed distance for a long duration of time because that's what's required on special teams.
Yeah.
Right? Do that first to allow my real skill set of vision and playing Mike linebacker to then happen when called upon. I had it backwards. I'm going to be a Mike linebacker and I'm going to play special teams. Well, then now you're average of special teams. You get hurt, now you're out of the league in 2 years. That's facts.
Yeah.
So it's like with my guys, how do I look at that guy and individually say, how can I maximize this guy's value? Well, all right, does he need to get stronger at the point of attack? Does he need to be able to bend better in space? What are those things, regardless if he's a starter or not?
Yeah.
Okay. How do we extend his career? Well, guess what? There's only, 53 guys on the roster and you got practice squad guys. My job, my thought was after camp, as these guys go through, if I can maximize their value, I'll be able to extend their career because they're healthy, they're well-trained, and so that if they don't have an opportunity in Jacksonville, they have 31 other teams that they can get employment from.
Yeah.
And that's been my entire outlook. I'm happy we brought that up because it's not that I didn't think about it. It was just so ingrained. I got to be able to articulate that. But that is a servant mentality, in my opinion. And the only reason I got back into the game is because I wish somebody would have said, Anthony Schlegel, listen, bro, I know that you can do all these things. It's not about a number. It's not about how much you've been. Nobody gives two flips. They're not putting that when you go out there on the field, right? They're putting out there, how are you the best backside three in the NFL on kickoff? How are you the best guard, right? How can you work on shocking and shedding and getting downfield and stacking a guy? How can you come to balance? How can you work on your acceleration off the ball, on punt return, right? And get into guys, like, let's work on those things so we can maximize your value and extend your career. And ultimately, like, guess what? I got to work on what does that holistic system look like. It's always evolving. It's always changing. And that's where I'm really looking at what is the minimal effective dose of all that. But that's kind of the beauty of the NFL is that there's going to be a lot of breadth in it because there's 70 to 90 dudes.
Yeah.
And they're all different. And if you don't look at them as all being different, you're doing some of them a disservice.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And that's where it takes time, energy, and effort to do that.
Yeah.
And like even last year, I'm sorry I'm rambling, but like we would call trainers and like, hey, this guy, his hamstring imbalance was this. He was, 100 newtons more on this right side than his left side, but that stems from this surgery. Hey, you should work on this while you guys are training. I'm not going to tell you how to train him. He's paying you, obviously, but I just wanted to have that communication and dialogue because I want nothing but the best for him when he comes back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's high give a shit factor.
Yeah.
For maximizing that dude.
Yeah, but you built it into the structure. You did he did a really cool thing this year where he was it every week you track guys' Nordboard scores and those.
We didn't get to do it every week. Like it's just that's the other thing you're looking at. Like how do you get to build that in that testing system because we found some great results from it throughout the season. Because that's the hardest thing with testing is like guys are beat up every week. When do you want to do it?
Yeah.
When do you not want to do it? But there were some great results to the fact that guys were getting stronger and their imbalances were getting less by doing what we did in the strength training program. So that's a testament to the staff and it's a testament to the guys. Because that's the other thing too. We had our rejuve room. We had over 1,200 users. And this is the other thing, right? So they spent like probably $1 million, built this regen room. You got a cryo, you got an art bed, you got a float, and you got a wellness cocoon. It got used over 1,200 times in the span of 22 weeks. It's like an average of like 50-something week, right? But here's how I view it. That's 1,200 more times than it got used last year because it was available, right? And in doing so, you had healthy guys, right? And they were bought into having a rejuvenation plan that they themselves executed because when you practice hard and you train hard, and I'm smart about not overtraining them, it gives them a better opportunity to recover, to have what? Another great training day. Because in the NFL, it's all about how do they practice so they can execute on Sundays. That's it.
Yeah.
That's where it lies. You can't ever lose focus on that. So, but doing those things, our guys really bought in. and they believed in it, and they did a really good job of taking care of themselves.
No doubt. And then, but that like, and I know a lot of guys appreciate that because like, again, if you get 5% more out of them, 10%, and like all this leads to one more year, like that's another $1 million or whatever. Like,
I mean, that's life-changing, life-altering stuff. Like, look at your career.
Yeah.
Right? Even my career. It set us up to be able to go find the next path. I mean, I was a third-round draft pick. I only played 2 years. I had to sit out a year because I was hurt. Then I tried to play in the UFL for Pete's sakes.
Hell yeah.
Right? And I mean, let's go. Florida Tuskers all the way.
Yeah.
Right?
Omaha Nighthawks over there.
Yes. Right? Just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But the opportunity afforded us the opportunity to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so, I just know how I was blessed from the game of football and how those extra years accumulating can impact people. And that's why we do what we do. It can't be a job. It's a vocation. And I don't want to ever look at it as a job. Because if I ever have to look at it as a job, then I want a GTFO.
Yeah.
Because that's not what I'm about.
No doubt. No, you're the man, dude. I appreciate you. I appreciate
you, man. Let's go.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you.
Yep.